I am on to learning about Absalom Station in today's Discovering Starfinder video. It's apt timing because we are getting ready to start our first official campaign here on YouTube. We are going to be going through the actual official very first Adventure Path book. I don't know if we're going to do the whole Adventure Path, but we are starting off with that Dead Sons, I think is what it's called, but it's the first one called Incident at Absalom Station. So it felt natural that I turn back to a specific section of the Starfinder Core Rulebook, which is going to be this section covering Absalom Station, but I'm also going to be digging into the Pact Worlds section on Absalom Station, which I believe has some more information um, on the station and doing some more information about what I can find on the internet as well. And more than likely, I'm going to be putting together some sort of Starfinder lore video. I've never done one of these. What I'd like to do is put together a video collage with images and video clips and so on and so forth, and just do a narration version. I think I'm most excited about starting here. I'm really glad that this ended up working out the way it did, because it allows us to start the very, very beginning of the first adventure path, which happens to take place on this space station, which for me is really cool because I loved Babylon 5 as a show. I loved Deep Space Nine as a show. So I'm already familiar with the idea of running a campaign, or at least being in the process of being in that space of being on a space station. And I actually was talking about this the other day. Like, if I were to have the opportunity to write something, I would probably stick it on the space station and have it be a Absalom Station centric uh, storyline if I were to do something homebrew, as opposed to going off and beat Space Cowboys or something, which you can do. And there's exploration adventures on other planets. But I like the idea of a space station because there's a lot of stuff that can happen because you have multiple levels, you have a big, huge open space, and you have good places, bad places. There's a lot of stuff, especially I believe there's 2 million inhabitants on this place, so it's a pretty big space station. Anyway, without further ado, we got to actually get into the text of the book this morning. I'm 2 minutes in and I'm still rambling. So, if you like my Discovering Starfinder series and you haven't already done so and you're here for the first time, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. That's very important. Number two is support however way you can. Memberships here on YouTube are great, 3 different tiers. There's also memberships over on the Patreon page. You can also, of course, do super chats and stickers and live streams and premieres if you just want to do a one-off, or you can do super thanks. All of those options allow you to use the pre-programmed amounts, which are like, I think there's 3 of them, like $3, $5, $10, something like that. Or you can plug in your own, $50, $500. You guys keep the lights on for me, and that's all I can ask for. So thank you so much for those of you who do support. In the meantime, let's dive into what it says here. Absalom Station, the Nexus, diameter 5 miles, atmosphere normal, day 1 day artificial, year 1 year. That's a cool piece of concept art. I believe because this is in a PDF version, it's sort of split between those 2 pages, but that's the actual space station there. I saw this piece of concept art on the internet the other day. It looks great, so we'll be using that for sure. It says this space station, Absalom Station, floats in the orbit formerly occupied by the planet of Galarian, which, as I understand it, is the primary planet upon which the Pathfinder stories take place. Says this is the primary home of humanity and the undisputed center of both interstellar trade and governance among the Pact Worlds. And from here, the Pact Council and its legion of delegates from all recognized Pact Worlds control the Fragile Alliance, keeping harmony in the system while also regulating property claims on newly discovered worlds. This also has a ton of headquarters. Oh, by the way, I've flipped through the Pact Worlds section on Absalom Station. None of the rest of it. I literally just went and looked at it, and they have a lot. I think the one thing I appreciate about the Pact Worlds breakdown is they actually list a lot of the locations, the actual points of interest on Absalom Station that aren't here in the core rulebook. So you've got various stores and offices and bars and taverns and things of that nature, headquarters. It has all those listed, which I think is really, really cool. It says here as well, there interplanetary law enforcement officers known as the Stewards make their headquarters here, as well as Abdar Corp's home offices on the material plane and the archives of the galaxy exploring Starfinders. But the most important feature, of course, is the Starstone, which I've asked a bunch of questions about already. Um, I want to know, can you still get to godhood through the Starstone? Because I was reading that's part of what the Starstones were in Pathfinder, is that they were allowed you to transcend. But it says here this one's locked deep within the station's heavily guarded core. Who guards the core, by the way? Can anybody here in the video who's an expert on Starfinder answer that question? Who guards the Starstone and the core? Because it says here it's heavily guarded. The Starstone not only powers the station, but acts as an immensely powerful hyperspace beacon that is, and it says for reasons unknown even to the priests of Triune. No one knows who built it, and no one knows when it entered the orbit of Gorion. Um, and artificial gravity creates a consistent dawn. Oh, so the light is persistently at a dawn lighting? Okay, but beyond that, it says neighboring districts often have shockingly different cultures and living conditions, from the Sparks' hard-scrabble engineering bays and the flooded tank warrens of Puddles to the rowdy spacer bars of Drifter's End and the elegant self-contained corporate enclaves in Blue Rise Tower. Then there's a great park-like dome known as the Eye, and below, the downtrodden masses sink into the machine-cramped access warrens of the Spike. Gangs rule the neighboring towns like Bot Scrap, Downlow, and Pipetown. And then there's the Syndagild, which is the legislative body that each gives each neighborhood a voice in station policy and elects the station's ruling prime executive, also known as a Primex. Obviously, there's the ships. It says both transient and resident, with the latter mockingly referred to as the Armada because despite the fact they aren't military, they only have a modest security fleet, depending instead on the stewards and station-mounted defenses. Absalom Station is never more than one slip away from chaos. It says one of the most dangerous factions is the strong Absalom movement, who believe the Starstone belongs only to the refugee races of Golarion in compensation for their lost world. Okay, so they're a little zealous. And then we have mention of the Arcanamarium, which trains the technomancers of the solar system, and the station has the Cosmonastery, which teaches the Solarians' path. There's the Eyes Wide Agency hiring out psychic investigators. And the Starfinder Society, which launches expeditions into the unknown. Absalom Station is a land of opportunity, a chance for all sorts of people to make a fresh start. I have a lot of questions though, because I keep coming back to, okay, we have a lot, and maybe there's more information on this in the Pact Worlds section that I missed. But I'd love to know who guards the core, which I mentioned that earlier. And then they've mentioned some gangs ruling some of the lower class neighborhoods. I'm wondering if the Pact Worlds guide lays out some more of those neighborhoods, because they mentioned Bot Scrap, Downlow, and Pipetown. They also mentioned locations such as the Flood and Tank Warrens of Puddles, or the Spacer's Bar of Drifter's End, or Blue Rise Tower, which is corporate enclaves. And then we have the great park known as the Eye, which is this giant like dome structure in the middle. And then it goes straight, so it spreads out in 5-mile diameter, but then it goes down in multiple layers as well. I need to know more because obviously the first campaign is going to have all the information that I need to be able to run the campaign, which is great. But I always want to know more, because if the players want to go off the beaten path or something, if I know, the more I know, the better it is, the easier it is for me to um, be ready for those situations. Of course, I could just make shit up too as we go along, because I can always just Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5. There's a seedy bar over there. There's a gang of cutthroats called the Skin Savers. I don't know. You can always come up with stuff on the fly. That's part of the fun of roleplay. Anyway, if you like the Discovering Starfinder series as I continue to uncover all these things about Starfinder, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Support in all the ways we talked about at the beginning. Membership's the easiest way here that supports Chris and I directly, along with Super Chat, Super Stickers, or Super Thanks. But if you want to get involved with our tabletop world, which we do alongside my brother, that's over at our Patreon page. You get a copy of the source book, you get access to our map packs. There's the book series, there's the point and click adventure game, all sorts of stuff happening over there. So get on it. Drop what you can. Thanks for those of you who can support. Do support because it keeps me on the air full time, keeps the lights on, the internet paid, the air conditioner on, and it keeps my cats fed and sleeping. There's one over there too. He's sleeping. And I think, yeah, Lucas is passed out in the chair. So thanks everybody. See you next time. Stay safe. Happy reading.